Hello, welcome to Seeking Heaven, the Near Death Experience, and Other Phenomena. I'm your host, Tamara Calder Richardson, and welcome to my online spiritual community. So, if you're not a member, maybe consider being a member and supporting this channel. But just by watching your comments, make all the difference. And also be sure to like and subscribe so you can get all the alerts. Now, today, our guest is so exciting. I'm going to jump right into it because this is just, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And I really do work hard to get guests that I feel that will spiritually enhance your life and that will be interesting and fun and always positive. That's very important. And then we need to make sure that if we ascend, that we ascend with love and light. So today's guest, Riya Loveguard, is back on. Now you remember her before, where she is a galactic language linguist, and she has spoken over 15 galactic ET languages. And the first episode, she explains the importance of it, how this came to be with her, and how she's using it to help people. She is also a Galactic Star Nation ambassador and works with the different races as they communicate with her, not only in their language, but also with quantum healing on different frequency levels. And so you're going to get a sample of that today as she is on, and you'll have her information below so you can get a hold of her. I'm going to bring her on now, and she's going to give examples for us of different light languages and why it's so important to activate your light language now and what that does for you. So let me bring her on. Riya, so nice to have you back.
Thank you. Always pleasure. So yeah, this is gonna be really juicy because you're not gonna just hear about light languages. You're actually gonna experience them yourself. And there's some powerful frequencies. So just so you guys know, get yourself ready because you may feel this on many different levels. You may feel in your body, you may feel nothing, you may get your memories back. We never know when those frequencies come. All different things can happen. So it's going to be really
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh, that's great. Well, I want you to tell them, first of all, if the people that haven't seen the first one, a little, what is a light language? What is the importance of it? I mean, they can hear the first one to find out how this came to be with you and your business and practice as it is now. But just a quick little overview about what light languages are.
So light language, I like to define it as channeling energy in the form of sound. And there are many different light languages. Sometimes people think it's one thing because it tricks us the name light language as if it's one language, but it's not. It's many different ones. But it's also not the case that that people each have their own. So there's many types of light languages. So there is the galactic ones that we've mentioned, such as the Arcturian and the Pleiadian and the Sirian that you'll hear in today's show. And there's also languages of the civilizations that once were here on Earth, like the Lemuria or the Atlantis. But I can also channel the language of my own soul, which is like my own unique sound. And you have the same language too, which is the language of your soul. And you can also channel different things in the form of sound. Like you can tune into energy of land. I've done that in Australia. I've done it in Costa Rica now, and it's just basically expressing frequency as sound. So that's what light languages in brief is, like an umbrella term for all these different phenomena.
Now, are these light languages that you're speaking of, is it actively that you're getting it right now, or is this just your soul memory and knowing this?
Well, it's both. So my soul remembers them, but there was a moment of activation, and we'll
Mm.
explain in the show how you can activate your own light language. But so how it happens is there's a moment when a new language activates. It feels like a download, like like it's coming through, and like it always happened for me when I first connected to different energy, like when I connected to Arcturian energy for the first time, or Sirian energy, or Pleiadian energy, or whatever. That's when the language came, and it felt like something's coming in, and I want to express it. I want to speak it. So this is how it's happening. So I've got them on tap, right? They like, if I want to speak Pleiadian, I can speak Pleiadian. If I want to speak Arcturian, I can speak Arcturian. But there was that initial moment of activation.
Okay. So we're going to go through some examples of what they are, just a few, because we can't do 15, but just a few examples of maybe the top, 5 or what have you. And you definitely have many of these on your Instagram and your YouTube that you can watch later on, viewers. It really is fascinating. But before each one, she's going to explain a little bit like what this galactic the solar system, what the people, kind of who their personality, what they represent, an example of the language, and possibly what it may say. But then toward the end, you're going to explain first what it is, but you're going to do an actual activation for us watching, the viewers, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be a typical light language activation because I believe that there's more than just activating your light language. I used to do all activations like in free classes of the CAF, but now I believe that there is also a responsibility that comes with it, and not to freak anyone out. And people need to learn how to use, because it's a very potent tool. Sometimes my students send me samples of the light languages, and the frequency has been so high. I remember this one sample knocked my intruder alarm twice. I couldn't listen to it because every time I put play, it just like there was so high frequency. But what I want to do is I want to do a starseed activation at the end, which will be awakening your starseed memory. So it's not going to be, maybe your language will come. I'm not sure when I activate, different things happen, but my intention will be so you can become more connected to your multidimensional self and to your soul family, to your galactic support team who are happy to help you and serve you in any way they can, because you on Earth are in a very challenging position, as in it's not an easy place. Earth, it's a beautiful place, but it's also challenging. But guess what, you've got a massive support team behind you cheering you on, so I want to connect you with all of them.
Well, I'm just so excited to have you here today. And however you want to take this, to explain people examples, just go ahead and do your thing. This is
Yeah.
all very thrilling, and this is very unique. I think that people will find this fascinating to even know that this exists and this is available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So every starseed has a potential to activate the language, which is a memory of the language that they've spoken in the previous life as a member of a various race. But you also have a language of the soul. And I would like to start by honoring my star family from Arcturus, who are beings of light, who have been with us. And I can feel the energy. I'm actually kind of getting quite choked up because I can feel them around me. And I want to express the energy. There will be no intention behind this transmission. I'll just open up, and then if translation comes, I'll translate what I've just said, or like give you the gist of what it was. But I just want to give you a sample of Arcturian language. So Arcturians are these very high vibrational beings, and they were mentors to the Atlantean people, and they are also available to mentor us because they have ascended their consciousness. They haven't always been in 5D and higher dimensions. They've also been in lower densities, just like us, but eons ago, they've made a transition, and they're happy to assist us with our transition. Arcturian frequency is the frequency of non-judgment, of unconditional love. And I want you to feel this love. So I kind of, okay, I said there will be no intention behind it or nothing programmed, but as I'm about to speak it, I feel like what they want to show you guys is they want to soak you in this unconditional love and release any judgments. And there will be judgments that you can have towards yourself, being maybe too harsh of a critic. Maybe there will be judgments you've got over other people. I want you to feel the frequency of unconditional love as this transmission comes through. Don't be surprised that this language sounds a little bit like Arabic or like Hebrew. It's got Middle Eastern sounds, but rest assured, this is Arcturian language with beautiful, beautiful frequency of unconditional love, brought to you by my soul family. So without further ado, let's experience a bit of Arcturian. Terachteme lochut e hama erekuru mihit ara hetarochut arakena muhura, Tea uru ea mahate uru huke e mahat e ruhu tuti a hare e taru e a hame meu ua hat aya iu e a much a te ruhu e a ma. Mea hu, mea hare i a hada a mehia, te kinia huna masahe, lehe la balahatia husumena, nei nehea arahti i tukure, te sahare, te haria da hasa. So just to explain, this was an activation of your higher heart chakra. So you've got this little chakra here, which isn't quite your heart, it's your high heart. And this was hitting this spot. It was opening you to possibilities of love. So feel free to listen to it again whenever you want to, if you want to move to those higher frequencies of love.
Beautiful. I could feel it, and it did feel like between my throat and my heart.
Yes,
I could
that's it.
feel it. And it was so gentle. It was just like release, release, and move forward now. It felt like that if I had to interpret it, but it was just gentle.
It was about releasing. Actually, you got the translation. It was about like just let go of anything that's holding you back. So as I was speaking, the translation was along the lines of it's time to move on. Like you said, it's time to move
Release.
to this higher dimension. You're a
It's
channel, so you've got you
oh,
could do
my
my
God, I got
interpret
the chills. I got the chills. I just feel so grateful for that. It was beautiful. Yes, I could feel that. It's just very gently. It's time to go on. Release now. All is well. Release and breathe.
that.
Beautiful.
So, what I would encourage everybody watching this to do is, because we have, and we will have even more cosmic energies, it's very important to ground yourself to Mother Earth. So, if you have an opportunity to put your feet on the ground, imagine that there is almost like a root system grounding you to our planet, to Mother Earth. And if you feel maybe like these energies are too much, they may be causing emotions, maybe not, I don't know, everybody reacts differently, then always grounding to earth when you're dealing with cosmic energies is a good idea, just to bring balance.
Yes.
So Tamara, what language would you like to hear next?
Well, definitely Palladian and Sirian and then Lemuria. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna Pleiadian and Sirian are like chalk and cheese. So Sirian is very grounding, very ancient, very it's like this wisdom. Syrians are very progress orientated and very organized, and Pleiadians bring the party to the party. They very high vibrational, they're like pure photonic energy. And the languages are also very different. So Sirian is quite slow and grounding. Pleiadian is like high pitched. I'm Polish, and sometimes when two Polish women meet, like the girlfriend, and they get excited, that's what Pleiadian is like. So it's very high pitched, very
Ah,
fast.
I see. Now, can you tell us also about you talked a little bit about the characteristics of Syrian Sirius because and I know that there's Syrian what planet A, B, and C, but the
Yeah.
Syrians maybe a little bit more about that. And then I sent you my light codes I drew, and you said heavily Syrian. Did you just know it intuitively?
Yeah. I just do. I'm more attuned to audio than to visuals.
Mm,
However, yeah, I can feel those frequencies. Syrians, they are, again, Syrians, Pleiadians, and Arcturians are those three races are probably most famous. There's many others, but
mm,
they famous on Earth for a reason, because they have been our champions also in the Galactic Federation. Because there's been a big discussion going on for like eons whether the humans can join the Galactic Federation, and there is a good reason why many races don't want us to join the Galactic Federation, because we still need to put our own planet in order, and we haven't got peace on this planet.
yeah.
And the whole point of the Galactic Federation is to keep the peace in the
Yes.
galaxy after devastating wars that have
Mm,
been throughout the galactic history, like the Orion Wars. So there is a good reason why humanity, first of all, we most of us are not even able to ascend our consciousness and telepathically meet at that place. But this is now happening. More and more people like yourself are able to elevate their consciousness and to access those higher dimensions. So capability wise, we're getting there. But there's also this thing where we still fight with one another, and we need to learn peace. And therefore there was many nations in the Galactic Federation, which is like the equivalent of United Nations, but no, don't take analogies. Maybe you don't like United Nations. Not like that. It's an amalgamation of different races, and Arcturians, Pleiadians, and Sirians have been advocates for humans joining, and it's almost like they took upon themselves to really help us get into this shape where we can take our rightful place at the table. And Sirians have done it for eons, well, maybe not eons, but millennia, where they helped us build the pyramids. They taught us how to channel energy. They were, in ancient Egypt, in the Mayan Empire, in the Aztec Empire. Sirians were there, like mentoring us. Arcturians were mentoring Atlantean people, and Pleiadians. Pleiadians are always also with us. So talking about Sirians are like they basically they keepers of wisdom. They very, very masterful of the land and channeling energies from the land. So what we would call the classical feng shui, where there's dragon lines and energy in the water, energy in the land. Sirians nail that. They've got their own calculations. They've got all of that. And look at the pyramids around the world. Really, were we really that primitive when we were constructing all of this? I believe we had a bit of help, and I feel like Sirians were with that. Sirians are also very good, and Sirian language, for dismantling any structures, any sacred geometry which is distorted, not sacred. Geometric forms are distorted patterns, especially the ones from a societal level. Sirians are also very protective, and there's an interesting fact for you guys that Sirians are very protective of their females. So I know you work with some Sirian female guide, but this is an absolute honor to work with a Sirian female. And probably they work with you because you're one of them and they trust you. Like, my husband works very closely with Sirians as a channel, but they will never let him on the planet. They always meet him on the ship, and they always scan his consciousness and make sure that he's good, because he's not a sibling starseed, but he works with them.
You're kidding. So this is very interesting to me. So interesting. This Alethea, the Sirian High Council, has come to me several times, but she's beautiful. She's blue, and she's got this beautiful headdress on. She doesn't have any hair, and she's a mix of royalty Arcturian family and Sirian family. She's a little bit taller, and I meet her in her chamber, and it's big open windows, and it's beautiful. It's it's like she's telling me what to do. It's like I'm a scribe. So why is it so heavy in feminine energy?
Well, they are not so much that they are in feminine energy, because there's a balance. There's female Sirians and male Sirians, but I think they are just generally quite a protective race throughout history. And I think it comes because there was a part of Sirians that were of the negative polarity, and they try to protect themselves, a very, very small part of it, and they try to learn from this and protect the purity of the race. And also they've got very advanced technology that if it got leaked out and into the wrong set of hands, this would be quite detrimental. So Sirius also designed very specific technology for communication in the Galactic Federation settings, where different races can pool their consciousness. Because if you think about it, the galactic nations, they've got collective consciousness. So if someone has access to a whole of collective consciousness of Sirians or Arcturians, they put their like family silver on the line. So the Syrians designed this protective system where the nations can telepathically share fragments of information, but not all of their collective consciousness. So it's like a safety is a very, very big theme with the Syrians.
Really? That's interesting. So is it like the light grids around the earth, or is it like a special?
It's almost like a pool of consciousness.
Okay, but it is a higher vibrational pool of consciousness.
Yeah.
I see the earth as having like right above it, it's like a fog. It's like a dark mass. But then beyond that, I see this brilliant light of this beautiful grid. Is this what you speak of? And or is it, this is a different one? This is interdimensional.
I feel like what you're talking about is the grid of the Earth, which we've got a planetary grid. I think that we also, in a way, we have collective consciousness as humans. There's collective archetypes, etc. But collective consciousness of every star nation, such as the Sirians or the Arcturians, it's like the treasure trove of all the knowledge, or like our internet, only invisible. So that's kind of, it's not so much connected to the planet, it's more connected to the people.
Consciousness.
So, yeah, and I very often, myself and my husband, we use Sirian protective shielding, which helps empaths and people who are very sensitive to energy and absorb other people's energy like a sponge, unwillingly, because they're so sensitive. We put like this Sirian shielding, which is like a dome that doesn't let anything negative.
That is, I do that all the time. I do a clear one. I can feel it, and sometimes I'll make it blue.
Mm-hmm.
And put it around me. That's really interesting. And I'm very protective, and I'm getting now sacred geometry constantly, and now I'm getting Tesla all the time. And Tesla told me he's Sirian, and he was advanced. And he also is telling me. I said, "Why are you telling me this? I'm not a scientist." He goes, "No, you're more than a scientist." He said,
yeah.
And so he said, "This is beyond science." And so, as you know it. But that the technology is very advanced, what he's telling me to have here, but I'm very leery because I would not want it in the wrong hands, because we're really not at that point yet. We need to be cautious till we have all ascended to a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, Sirians they were actually physically present on planet Earth at certain points in our history, eons ago, but not anymore. They kind of like, they don't want to get meddled like with us in a physical way until we're ready, I feel. I think they're going to come once more, and we actually will be able to see them in a physical, but not just yet.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm their ambassador. I'm so ready. I'm so excited. You and your husband, I know he'll be excited too, but
Aaron
lifetime.
Since he first, there was actually quite a funny story. Since Aaron first connected to the Sirians, he's like, "Can I see you guys? Like, I want to see your ships. I want to see you in the physical." And he was obviously getting them in the quantum. And then there's one particular meditation he's leading, and this Sirian being comes literally up to his nose, like that close, and it's like, "Okay, now you've seen me," but I feel like we in the physical way we would have kind of, I don't think we're quite ready for it. We still need to progress our consciousness, and I feel like we're preparing for it. So that's where we are.
And I did the same thing, and that's when I saw the UFOs. I said, "I want to see." And when I saw them, my husband, who's very normal, saw them first. He's like, "Look," and they were several, one big one there. And people say, "Why didn't you get your camera?" But honestly, my heart was so overjoyed and so happy. And I felt like, I know it's a strange response. I could not help my emotional response, but I felt so much tremendous love for them. And wanted them to land, and really was very upset when they left.
Oh, that's like when you feel the frequency. So, I would like to give you a little bit of Sirian frequency, and say to any listeners, and if there's any, if any of these languages that you hear feels like an old song, feels familiar, there's chances are that you remember it from one of your previous incarnations, and in that case, it means you're probably a starseed. So without further ado, I'm gonna speak some Sirian now. Let's see what they want to say. I feel like the theme is love today. So there'll be more on that theme, but we'll see what else. Okay, so here comes Sirian. E namade e kama ara ade uta ama asa a e karuma ada a e demino uda a kena uma ade a e do usa a neme uda ama a kera ara adama ade kuma a e te suma me ia usame me ia usaka me du nama a e tu suma anama te amada ada asa a e koturo musa ana me da a e darada. That's Sirian.
That, woof. It's powerful, but it's so loving. You know, the feeling I got was almost like, like from my grandmother. She was like, "You go out there and you fulfill everything, and you do it with joy and with vigor, and I support you 100%. I love you." It was felt like that.
What they were showing me as I was transmitting was also like this. When you mentioned about this fog of this darkness around planet Earth, they were showing me that the fog is lifting. It was like the fog is lifting. The clouds are lifting, and space is being created for something better. That was
Beautiful.
a bit of what the translation of it was. It was just this kind of like fog that's kind of like lifting up. So yeah.
I feel that too. I do. Right now, it feels like in chunks and particles, and you have dark masses, but I do feel like that is lifting. So that was absolutely beautiful. I got an image of um, several blue high level beings around me, some taller, some shorter, and then in the back there was someone that fixed a gown or like a robe, and they said it's time to wear your crown and walk with us. I don't know what this is
I
about.
think you actually got your own personal download because
Wow.
like I think we've mentioned this in the previous recording, the previous session, that light language works is multidimensional. It works on many different layers. So it will work on a layer of meaning, a layer of energy, but it will also work. There may be some general meaning, but people will get from it what they need to get from it. And obviously, what you got is personal to you.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I first saw a bunch of sacred geometry around me, and it was just coming off of me, and it was everywhere. And then they stood around me, and they the sign of them straightening the robe and putting in the crown, and was like they honored me versus I'm like, oh, thank you, and they're like, it's just a way I think of saying thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
Yeah.
being of service. That was beautiful. Wow, and it was gentle, but it was very straightforward. So it seems like they're very straightforward.
Oh yeah. Syrians are like, they mean business, and Syrian star seeds are very dedicated people. I find that Syrian and people who had like prominent lives in Syria on Sirius, they're very like straight down the line. Syrians also, like for example, Arcturians have this silly sense of humor, and they like quite funny. Well, Syrians are quite like dry. It's almost like they don't have the sense of humor in a way we have sense of humor. Or so they all have different qualities. Once you get to know the little flavors, you kind of know these energies. But yeah, Syrians are very, very driven. Progress. That's like Syrian strapline. There's always room for improvement.
Oh my gosh, that's my life. Yeah. So that's beautiful. And it's funny. I feel like that they're guarded, but once they trust you, they'll actually start making jokes and make little things. But it kind of reminds me of the Germans. It takes a while to get to know Germans. They don't trust you. But when you know them, they're funny. They do everything for you. It's kind of like reminds me of this. So tell us about the Pleiadians.
So the Pleiadians are like almost these photonic beings, and for humans, they can almost appear like guardian angels because Pleiadians live in this so high frequency. In this, they don't have experiences like we do, like this contrast on Earth. So sometimes they become almost like they're learning the soul lessons just by observing us.
Hmm.
And they are like what I would call photonic energy. So what we receive as energy from our sun, this is like what Pleiadians are like, and they are super high vibrational. Pleiadian energy is like pure light, and what Pleiadian energy can do, it's fantastic language to flush out any darkness. I sometimes use it as like an energetic jet wash, and this is what I'm going to do for you today. So if anybody has any darkness, any sadness, any kind of thing lingering in the field that needs to be released, I'm going to use the Pleiadian language to, so it's like an energetic shower. Doesn't need to be much. It's quite high pitch, high vibrational language, but
Okay.
the beings, what also Pleiadians do is they help your body hold more light, more high vibrational frequency. So, and it can come in stages. And the more you hold, the easier it accelerates, for example, your manifestations, because you lighter, you less dense. So they're
Yes.
incredible beings. And also
Wow.
Pleiadians sometimes intervene. So, like you obviously had, you yourself had near-death experiences many times more than an average person. But also when there's like freak accidents, where it's almost like it seems like a miracle, like a divine intervention, that's very
Yeah.
often Pleiadians just
So,
trying to, intervene.
so the beings of light, people talk about several near-death experiencers talk about the beings of light, the beings of light. And sometimes those beings of light could be humans that show up, but they feel like humans. But other times these beings of light, they're not human. And some people may categorize them as angels.
Mhm.
But these beings of light that, no, they're not quite human. They're very friendly. That would be what you're speaking of, the Pleiadians.
Yeah, Pleiadians, like they like glowing. They are like angels, so you won't even see their faces. It will
Yes.
just be like this glow. So yeah, for us, you can call them angels, but you can call them Pleiadians. Like, it in a way, there is, I believe there is also angelic realm, but
Yes.
very often what we feel as angels, they're actually Pleiadians helping us.
And I can tell the difference. I will say this to interject because I know people are going to be hung up on angels. Angels exist, but to me, they're a different frequency. They come to me as taller and bigger, and they come to me in colors, and it's a more kind of peaceful, grounded serenity, and it's majestic. It
Mhm.
feels majestic, whereas the light beings um feels an I would say, it's okay, almost a little playful, a little
Yes,
bit.
yeah. They
Mhm.
more on a par. I feel like the angelic frequencies are very ancient, very grand, right?
Very grounded, very majestic, very
Mhm.
serene, all is well, and that kind of thing, and very I'm not saying they can't have personalities, but they're very task-oriented, and there's a presence, whereas to me, beings of light, I'm not gonna use the word human, more human, but they
In
come
a way, they are
but
relatable.
but don't you think they're more playful? I'm just
Yeah,
trying to get I can hear people now about the angels.
relatable. I would
Yeah, that's
say.
a good word. That's a good word because these beings of light come up a lot in near-death experiences. I've never really covered it, so I'm really glad you're covering this because I really think some of the beings of light are angels and some of the beings of light are really the high level, ETs. I really do.
Yeah, I think they may well be Pleiadian. So
Yes.
okay, now this language and this Pleiadian language sounds quite like weird. So I hope nobody is watching this video from the middle because like it is really high frequency. It's not the strangest light language. There are stranger ones than that. The light languages of beings from other planets don't always sound anything like a human language. So hope you guys ready for Pleiadian.
Okay.
So this will be like an energetic jet wash, literally from crown to the bottom, anything low vibrational, just release, release, release. So here comes Pleiadian. And Pleiadian, I'll be using a lot of hand movements. That's just a part of it. It comes like, like there's some languages on earth where people like, I don't know, Italian, they
Yeah.
gesticulate. Well,
Yeah.
Pleiadian comes with a lot of hands and it's like specific movements, which I channel as well. So there we
Okay.
go. Pleiadian. shuto kasita mana shu to sita to sita ta sita ta shakata kasita to sita ta shuto to sita to so to salina shuk ta kasika ta to yaskata shu to sita ta sita to shu to sita u shu to kasina kasiko to kuma nakata kasu si to shu shata sita to si to shu to sita to shu to kasika ta mana kato su. It's different.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like my chakras were lined up.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah.
They just did it right now. I mean, they just went because I felt like, but it went because I usually line up my chakras not from top to bottom. I always just have an open crown chakra, so it goes. It started from the top and it just oozed down
Yeah.
into the ground. It went from the top, not from the bottom. It went from the
It's
top.
always Pleiadian energy is always from top to bottom. I've never felt it the other way around. It's just like this kind of beam of light. Like
And then it
yeah.
all just oozed off, and I just felt like it went. I kind of woke up today with low back, and when I have low back, it's not a lot. It's stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's stress, okay? And so I just felt in the back, low back, like tailbone, I could feel it just ooze off. Yeah, that was good. Wow, thank you, Pleiadians. Thank you, Raya, because wow, that really felt good.
I
That was
tell you what, Pleiadian language. Let me just share with you a little anecdote. I remember once I put this Pleiadian language on TikTok because I'm quite active on TikTok. I've been prompted by my guides to go on TikTok because that's where the younger generation is, and they were like, you need to reach the youngsters. Even I remember this one comment after 60 seconds of my Pleiadian transmission. This person said, "I swear to God, this cured my hangover."
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That is funny. Well, we'll have to. Okay, so any of you that need help, you can go back to this section on the interview and listen to that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have really thought about using that, but hey, if it lines up your
Yeah.
chakra, your energy, it
One more thing with Pleiadian frequency, because it's so high vibrational, sometimes it can, if you hang out with Pleiadians a lot, definitely ground yourself, but also can mess with your digestion. Because, if Pleiadians were humans, they would be those people who just eat light or like breath or just raw vegans because it's so high vibrational.
okay.
If you eat something heavy, it may feel a bit off. And I've noticed that working with Pleiadians, I need to eat a lot lighter or maybe skip a meal when I'm working with them, like a lot of the energy. Obviously, this was just a small dose of it. But if there's a lot of Pleiadian energy, you can feel a bit queasy. So that's normal as well. And also, please don't use Pleiadian language before sleep because it's too energetic.
We will not sleep.
No.
Wow, that's amazing. That was beautiful. And so, question: do they sleep? They don't really sleep, do they?
To be honest, I never asked this question because they're so ethereal.
Yeah, they're so ethereal. Why would they need to sleep?
You know what? Need to ask next time I'm hanging
I
out with them.
know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll ask things, and they don't understand the concept.
Mm-mm.
Like time. Try to ask people time. They're like, what? What?
Yeah. That's like for example, another race, which again, sometimes when you're hanging out with those galactics, they're so different. Like Orion beings, Mentaka beings, they don't eat for pleasure. They eat just for sustenance. Actually, they are actually in denser like dimensions where they eat, but they don't eat for fun like we do, and they never underweight, they never overweight. They just get what they need, and it's like this kind of, it's almost like our equivalent of some algae or something like that, and it's just like, for me, it's like,
So, yeah.
well, you don't eat for fun.
Yeah, right. Right. We make that part of our pastime entertainment, us eating all sorts of kinds of foods.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, so tell us about Lemuria. They're different Lemurians too, correct?
Yeah, Lemuria was a civilization here on Earth, on the Pacific Ocean, and there's still remnants of the Lemurian frequencies here on Earth, the old Lemurian grids, and if you live maybe by the Pacific, either side of it, you may still tap into it. Tap to the frequency of water. It was like a very much of a water-based civilization. They used crystalline structures a lot. very conscious, very awakened, and they almost made it. They, like Lemuria as well as Atlantis, they've almost made it, like as in when it comes to ascension of this planet. When they were here on Earth, it was literally, they were that close. And this is one of the reasons why they're really cheering us on, because the ego took over. They had different ideas of how this planet should develop, and they clashed. And that's where we're still repaying a lot of this trauma, like on a collective level. But I believe that once we ascend our consciousness, with their help as well, will once more reunite, because the Lemurians, they are they could bounce between dimensions, third and fifth, even as they were here on Earth. And as most of the Lemurian continent sank and was destroyed, some of them have survived in different realms, and they live in the Earth, but not in our dimension. So there is, that's why we can't see them, but hopefully
Okay.
one day we'll reunite again.
Okay. So they're the one, do they live in the earth core? Are those the ones that do?
I don't know if it's the Earth core, but the like underground cities. It's more like under Mount Shasta. There's this big
Yeah.
city called Telos, and there's also Atlantean cities. But Lemurian civilization was this matriarchy. It was all around the divine feminine principle, whereas the Atlantis was all about the divine masculine. And I think today, as we enter in this age of divine union, those two frequencies have a chance to merge, and we can embody both.
Yes.
So yeah, I like working with both of these frequencies. The Lemurian frequency is usually very pleasant for many people. For example, I've recorded uh, quite a long sleep transmission to help people with insomnia with Lemurian language.
Oh,
Very
okay.
calming frequency, because it's like a motherly love frequency. Whereas Atlantean is the other way around. It's like the frequency of confidence, of masculine, of action. So yeah, that's those two civilizations. I believe they're very, very two sides of the same coin.
Now, what about the Mer people and all of that? Is that Lemuria or
I
Atlantis?
believe they connected to Lemuria, as in, like, I don't think they are
Okay.
Lemurian as such, but I think as Lemuria was, you know, here on Earth, Lemurians were in contact with the Mer people, as in, like, it was just, like the neighbors, let's say, or
Okay.
they were kind of like, yeah,
Because they're so close to the water and they were
yes.
by. Okay, that's why I was asking that. Okay, that's great. Now, is Lemuria, it's gone. That used to be here, but the people, you said there's still people left here that are
Hmm.
okay. I'd like to meet
Yeah.
them, but go ahead.
Yeah, so but what I would like to do, the intention behind this Lemurian transmission will be to awaken Lemurian descendants, especially because there are starseeds, but there are also many people who are Lemurian and Atlantean descendants, people um, who have uh, reincarnated to kind of make make it right this time, to draw on the um, lessons that we've learned
Mhm.
when things went wrong with those two civilizations, and now to kind of not to make the same mistakes, and to actually anchor in those higher frequencies. So I want, with the Lemurian frequency, to awaken your memories and the wisdom of Lemuria. So it'll be a little bit of an activation as I channel it. Very pleasant frequency, although I'm not sure if you're connected to Atlantis, you may not like it. So yeah.
Okay, apologies accepted. But I might have been from both, so we'll just go ahead with it.
Yeah. Kena mena una ina meso una eta ikiminu una ame ikusa ame ia anaso mea akamane I tu mesia ana mea ukama inu musa ae tikusu mena a kea mana uso ima aya ina meno una kata kasuma ne kini neno una sena ma usa etaku ema asa ea ana mea kuasame nusi iu nuesere tio su me kiasa tasa.
That was beautiful. I saw women washing things by the riverside, and they were like petting dolphins, and it was about coexistence. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Lemurian frequency is very, very peaceful frequency. What's been kind of shown to me as a translation is it was like almost like rise up, stand tall, stand proud. It was also activating the back of the heart for receiving, because we all very often open with the front of the heart for giving, but also open back of the heart.
Mhm.
Receive our support. It was the message in this language. Receive our support. We're right behind you. We're standing behind you.
Oh, that's beautiful. That was very soothing.
That's the nature of Lemurian frequency. Very peaceful. Like yeah, I love Lemurian frequencies because of that.
It's so soothing. I mean, it really is wonderful. It's like eating a hot bowl of soup
Mm,
and then getting a blanket and then, wrapping up. It was beautiful. Now,
yeah,
talk about the Atlanteans and why, because it's now it feels like you have to, on the flip side of that, since you mentioned that to, about Atlantis, about it being here. Um, it was here. It's just not here now. And then, the purpose of that civilization and a little bit about that, and then the language.
yeah. So the Atlanteans, they embody the divine masculine principle of action, and they see that the colonies in ancient Egypt and the Atlanteans were meant by the Arcturian people, very highly advanced civilization. They used crystals to channel energy and to gather energy and to power energy. And again, it was the same as with Lemuria. It's the ego that took over because they thought they like, the best, and they were at the time on Earth. But it was almost like they got a little bit drunk on their own power. Although we sometimes think Lemuria is all this nice stuff and Atlantis isn't. They both beautiful civilization, and Atlanteans are great. Atlanteans can definitely help men out there to step into their masculinity, the healthy masculinity, because a lot of the feminine and masculine energies on this planet in this day and age have been distorted in many different
Mhm.
ways. We've been shut of our sexual expression. We've been hurt by other males or females. There's a lot of collective trauma and karma, and around both masculine and feminine. And Atlanteans are definitely happy to anchor those frequencies of healthy, good masculinity. Whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. It's not about being one or the other, because we have the divine union within us. We need both of these frequencies. We need this,
Yeah.
like Lemuria, this motherly love and holding space, but we need action. We need
Mhm.
we need all of that. So these energies can work in a unison, even though they're so different. And I very often, my Atlantean background is I was a male there. I was a warrior, and I actually got killed by a spear through my back, and it was like a very interesting thing where, since I remember, I've had this pain in like my lower chest, my rib cage, and I even went
Really?
to the doctors for like cardiovascular like potential problems, because I thought it was something to do with my heart. Then it turned out it was muscular, and then there was no reason for it. I always had this pain, and
Yeah.
and I remember when I connected to Atlanteans, this pain came like all of a sudden, and really, really, really strange. And the memories came, and I could understand that this pain was a pain for really traumatic death in Atlantean
Okay.
times. And then when I released this, and when I
Yeah.
made kind of peace with it, I've never had the same pain. And
Really? And
yeah,
so that's was it a regression going back to that moment?
yeah, yeah, and that got activated by just connecting through the language, etc. So
Wow.
yeah, that's we
Benefit to the language.
mhm.
Wow, that is wild. Well, let me ask you this with Atlantis. I've had memory of being with a bunch of women, high priestess, around crystals, and we're powering the city through this, and we're surrounded by
Yeah,
water. And I was
yeah,
an oracle, and I could it was a lot like that movie. I don't know if you ever saw like Chronicles of Riddick and the ethereal that could kind of whoosh in and out. And we had abilities and we worked telepathically
Mm-hmm.
and we were like ministers, but we were women, we were priestesses. But then there was another element that was more masculine that wanted to take the abilities and for other things, and that was the clash. So I mean, it's just something that we went through. But was that Atlantis or Lemuria? It
Sounds
feels
like Atlantis. Oh, it
like
can be
Atlantis.
any of them.
Yeah, it
Both
feels
Atlantis and Lemuria
like
work with crystals heavily. So obviously,
mm,
I'm not sure, but they harness powers of crystals. They harness the power
yeah,
of sound
yeah,
to build cities, power of water and sound
yeah,
and water and crystals. Very
yes,
conscious, and they could
yes,
program crystals with frequency. So what you were doing, we were doing
yeah.
exactly that, programming crystals with
By the water
frequency.
with the
Yeah.
crystals and the vibration of the sound, because water is an amplifier
Yeah.
of things. Bam. Yeah, I
Wow.
know. You can even do readings in water. I've done one where someone you feel water has someone put their hands in, take it back, put your hands above the bowl. And then I did it was one of the best readings I ever did. And then put the
Wow.
hands in it and then read. It was deep. It was good. Yeah, because their energy's in the water.
Of course, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I think that once we start activating those memories, as a collective, we'll progress. Those
Yes.
powers will come back. We'll still be able. I mean, I've programmed crystals with frequency. My husband did that. Like the first time I realized about this was we were doing some channel transmission on like a live event. My husband was wearing a crystal pendant, and
Mm.
then I think we went out and came like we went out to have something to eat after the event, and he's taking it off before a shower. I said, Ria, feel this. That it's like full of power. It's kind of like pulsing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I put it on and I can feel it. It's like, and then a neighbor who's completely not into this kind of stuff comes up and he's like, can you kind of like hold this crystal? What do you feel? It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's pulsing. And that was it, because we were doing Arcturian activation at this time. So crystals can charge
Oh,
up with energy as well. And you probably were a
oh.
pro in it in the times of Lemuria and Atlantis. That's
You want
amazing.
to You're going to laugh. I have memory, and I've actually met at least one person that I was standing with who was a high priestess in this life.
Wow.
She doesn't live in my country, but I've met her. So it's so funny you say this. This makes me laugh. So didn't I tell you that I had to wear this,
Mm-hmm.
and now this is getting hot on my chest. And then I was told um, for the interview to put my selenite in here because to charge it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
and I and I didn't know
yeah.
why I just did it.
So you know what? Let's charge it with Atlantean energy. I'm gonna and if you guys listening at home, put the video on pause, have a crystal. I'll charge it with some Atlantean energy. I'll send it with intention.
Yes.
And since Atlantean energy is this beautiful energy of confidence and divine masculinity as well,
Yes.
whether you're a man or a woman, we sometimes need this big bit of belief in
Mhm.
ourselves, in our abilities, and this transmission of Atlantean will be about that. Will be about awakening your um, your confidence and this kind of also power to come from a place where you've got ideas. Maybe you're channeling them in from your higher self. Maybe you have inspiration, and to put it into action. So
Yes.
that's going to be the intention behind Atlantean, if that's okay. Yeah. Itak atakumaraka shaketeko sukumakarak ikiarak atakurumanekarakuru surut. Shemurus ateakuruk uramekaramun. Kemaruturu sekashukuru sekemarak aretukurekarabak etekurumarashut usurekerak. Nikurumaratak arasek arakatarashuk. Teramakarukutu sekeya makarashuk urutusu utushara metekushu karamake shuturusam meturu. Teamashara eshuturusere. Tamara suturusha atiatas. My goodness me, I just said your name, Tamara. I said,
Yes, you did. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, they're speaking directly to me. Oh,
almost over my
oh
water.
my gosh! And I just got a powerful message. So lately, my heart's been doing like this lately. And I've been thinking, oh my God, am I going to have a freaking heart attack? I'm kind of young. I mean, but what they said is that they're raising my energy so fast that my body is not caught up with it. And so that's what it's feeling like to me. You know, how they have to work to raise our energies in these bodies. And they said that's what that is. So that's what they told me. And you said my name. Uh, before you said my name, they said remember, and then I had a whole image of Atlantis.
Do you
And
know?
then you said my name, and it kind of like shocked me because like, oh my God, they said remember, and I saw this whole this film strip, and I'm going, and then you said my name, and it's kind of I'm kind of like blown away right now.
Like I've just realized it snapped me out of the transmission, but it like I've said different names of people before in transmissions. Like I remember there was this one thing where I said the name of a healer that I know, and I knew I need to contact her and I had the most amazing session with that person. So yeah, that sometimes happens. I don't
Wow.
plan what I'm gonna say.
Wow, I think you look surprised too. Well, I would like to verify for you and for
Yeah.
everybody watching that I was a high priestess in Atlantis. I just saw that, and actually, it was like a surge of electricity when you said my name went through me.
Wow, that's amazing. Well,
That's wild. I mean, I think it has to do with you think, oh, Atlantis is not here. Yeah, but our galactic family is.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, and I, I always feel like there's more Atlantean and Lemurian descendants here than there are starseeds. The people who can call them Earth seeds or Earth angels, they're Lemurian and Atlantean descendants who are very very experienced. You know, it's not an accident that you were there in the priesthood. You weren't just an ordinary Atlantean. You were in position of authority and power. So obviously this is needed today. That wisdom. That yeah.
well, it's a good thing I just said earlier before the pre-show that I was starting a wisdom school and how they kept wanting me to teach the teachers. And
Step
so,
up. Step up.
oh my gosh, thanks. Step it up. So that was I did not expect that. That kind of blew me away. Actually, my crown chakra is vibrating like crazy. So they're doing something. They gave me some kind of activation. And I think this is a really good example of by me remembering just now, like, whoa, I saw this film strip, is that that's a form of activation. So why is that important to get in touch with that ability of that time might be needed now to help
Absolutely.
others.
Absolutely. You nailed it. You nailed it.
So this is amazing. The only thing there's so many you could do. The only thing is, can you speak of the feline people and also the bird people? But
Okay. So
yeah, because those are unusual.
the two Lyran races. They around the constellation of
Yeah,
Lyra, two different planets. If you can imagine birds and cats in one place, that wouldn't go.
that's
So
kind of funny.
uh, yeah, so I have very strong connection to the avian lot, and the avians they look like what we depict as angels. So they actually look like humans with wings, with bird wings, big, big, big wings. And out of every race that I've met, these guys are the most similar to human. Our DNA, arguably, comes from Lyra, both feline and avian races. And Lyra and avians are like the most similar race to humans. The only difference is those wings, which I miss a heck a lot because I love that lifetime on Lyra. So, but and the planet itself, the avian planet is very similar to Earth. In many ways, there's agriculture, and they worship birds as the ancestors. So that's the avian language. Feline language, felines are they're quite a specific race because a lot of people who are aware of Lyrans just are aware of the feline race, not the avian race. But felines are they're amazing, but they come like cats on their own terms. They always come to my aid when I don't even ask them. But I always feel like I don't know if I can even ask them because they just do things on their own terms, but um they very abundant being. They like the finer things in life on the planet. There's a bit of a hierarchy. There's like royalty, and
Okay.
they're awesome. They kind of like this confident cat energy. It's like the energy are a little bit feminine, but in like a self-assured feminine, not like the motherly feminine.
Mm.
But obviously there's males and females on that planet. Sometimes I see them as proper big cats, like jaguars,
Mm.
and sometimes I see them as just they have feline features but humanoid rest of the body. So that's how they represented, and they amazing. They've helped me many times with protection against negative attacks, and always turn up unexpected. So that's the felines. But the avians, beautiful for creativity, wonderful race, just this light energy. And the languages are very similar. So I give you them consecutively because they're
Okay.
very so the feline language is Kemana kai koi mai kara soi kuia mai ai aterutu suni mia kaya mai kai tu sui ikia mai kui turui te mai ai nui ne mai utui kai ka miku yuku sai ka miku yui e ka mai kai na kui kai mai ka sui ne mai kui kai ka sai kui mai na kai ra sui. I felt that was something around throat activation when I was channeling this. So that's the
Mhm.
feline language. The avian language, similar rhythm, uh, slightly different words. Kina marakale sia turusute tia maratia sala kia kurumane suru turi kira marakala suru tia sumeni asuturi ata sieturu sutu tia suture siutu kusumi di kusutu tutu siutu nemani sutu tu sikura kalamaratia sa terun mareta la suruture sa. I feel this was like activating this lightness, this
Yeah.
image of flying and all of that. So yeah,
Oh,
that's the
yeah. It's like
light.
the chest just felt a little freer, like it just opened up.
Yeah, like flattery.
Yeah, that was beautiful, and it was very sing-songy toward the end,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Very
my one of my favorite frequencies. I like you asked me what I
I
miss
love
home.
that.
When I do that, I don't want to come out. So I could,
Oh,
speak for hours.
right, and this is when people have dreams of flying and literally having wings is probably because of this race. They
Mm,
probably wore this race,
yeah.
and, I mean, how beautiful. So, wow, and then, let me ask you this, there's one that was the lion people. Do you ever get in contact with them?
I feel like the felines and the lion people, that's
Very
the link.
similar?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
They're similar. So,
yeah.
wow, and there's so many, and I think that people need to understand 15, which just knowing one is amazing, but 15, but there's literally hundreds and hundreds of galactic races.
Hmm.
Um, so many. I think I had mentioned earlier, there's a book, the Interdimensional Species Almanac with Craig Campobasso. He said that's just a few. I mean, these are endless. These just go on and on and on. But the fact that they can release a part in you or activate a part of you, release or activate, that they're working on a quantum level that's multidimensional, that's not just an A to B like with a human language is amazing.
Yeah, 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 there are certain races that are less interested in humans, and there's certain races that are more interested in us. And the ones that I've mentioned, they kind of more keen to work with us than some others. I've got guides from races that are not even part of Galactic Federation and are not really known, but they're still beautiful. So that
Yeah.
there's many options available, and if you want to meet more races or hear more languages, my TikTok is probably the best place.
Yes.
YouTube as well, but TikTok has those very short samples, so you
Yes.
can listen to the short samples there.
Yes, I listen to some there and the Instagram, and you've got a lot on your YouTube. There it's just fascinating. And by listening, it's also opening up people to their own. So, can you leave a tip of how people can get in touch with their own light language?
Okay, so activating light language, this depends which light language. When it comes to the galactic or the terrestrial that I gave an example of, then it's quite an easy thing. Come into contact with the energy
Yes.
of these beings and have an intention, and it can happen sometimes spontaneously, So that's why people sometimes open up and it just comes. Or sometimes it can happen in more controlled settings. That's how I do my activations for my students. I've got a light language course, and the activations go exactly like that, where I bring the energies of these beings and I just intend and transmit that energy. And I say to people, just open up your mouth and it will flow. And that's how I got activated 15 years ago by someone else. And this is how you can get activated when you just intend it.
Yes.
And I do it in like a condensed way where I speak all these languages one by one by one by one, and then generically for all the other races, and people just start speaking. Most important thing with light language activation is you've got to open your mouth. And I know it sounds stupid as heck,
Yeah.
but this is the biggest thing: is people think that something will force them to speak, that it will move their lips. Well, it won't move their lips. You still have control over it. And sometimes also because they think that maybe something will take over, the fear is crippling them and they won't express it because they feel like, oh, my God, what, something possessing me or whatever. Light language, you can it's like a tap. You can turn it on, turn it off at will. So don't
Yes.
worry that anything will take over. Of course, you need to be aware what energies you are opening up to. So in my activations, I always say races of the light, because there are other languages which are not of the light, which I know as well. And I don't want to activate those languages in people because they channeling frequencies that may not be the highest vibrational, although, everything exists in the quantum field. And I'm not like, oh, this is good, this is bad, etc. No, 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 no. But I feel like it's important to do it in a safe setting so you don't freak out. But perhaps for you it happens spontaneously, so that can happen as well. And sometimes you may have the light language, but you may be kind of pushing it out because it sounds too weird. And I find that a lot of star seeds from Orion language is like crazy, really super fast, and also this tick tick, like this kind of sounds.
Okay.
And it sounds a bit weird. People sometimes say, "Oh no, it's not light language; it's gibberish." Same with
Okay.
Pleiadian, that sounds like bird chirping. That's also kind of like weird, and so don't censor it, don't judge it. So if it activates, just let it flow, and also don't freak out that you don't understand what you're saying. This will come. And I find that if I channel language as service, as in like to help others, if this language has a purpose, then I understand what I'm saying. If I was just hoovering and speaking Arcturian, I probably won't even tap into the understanding. Whereas if I do it with intention and for the purpose of helping others, then I always get the meaning. So that's how it works.
Okay, so it's a lot like channeling. So the
Mhm.
reason you channel, you come in love, you have the highest vibration, you ground, all of these things,
Yes,
and then you're surrounded
absolutely.
by this love and light, and then you set the intentions to be able to help yourself and humanity, or whatever needs to happen to be of service, and then you connect to whatever that race would be, and
Mhm.
then you just or that person, right? And it's an invitation. It's not, you can't control it. It's an invitation that you're open to receive, and then you get whatever it is that you get. But when you get channeled messages, to me it's very similar. You can't judge it as it's coming in, even if it's the strangest thing you've ever heard. You have to just get it, and then go, and then get it, and then later on go, okay, well, you know, what does that mean? And here's the thing, it may happen instantly, you know what it means, or maybe it's later on. I've never
Absolutely.
been left hanging. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think they explained that you would not get information with not being explained what that is. So that's uh, to me, it's very similar because it is channeled. It's just speaking forth energy intentions.
absolutely. It's very, very similar. But perhaps the differences are that once you get light language, it will not disappear. You will always be able to tap into it again. It's like open the tap again. Initially, it will activate because it kind of activates some dormant memories.
Mhm.
Once it's there, it won't disappear. You'll always be able to reconnect with this language. But other than that, pretty much it's like you explaining with channeling. And also another thing is that probably you find it with channeling that once you trust it and you stop questioning it, it's like the volume that gets turned up. So it becomes easier. And the same with a light language.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be just one word that you will keep repeating. Sometimes you'll get a full-blown fluent language. So also don't censor yourself and don't think it's not that. If you just keep repeating one phrase or two phrases, it will come. My Sirian came very slowly. So first it was just very repetitive. It sounded boring. Like my husband was poking fun at me, saying like, you just keep repeating the same stuff. But then it expanded, whereas my Atlantean came straight like a full-on download and was fluent. So it's not like human language. That's what you have to understand. It just is what it is.
That is amazing. And to me, the way another analogy is there are people that have, well, one example I'm thinking of is someone who came into this world that was dyslexic, but then they did a past life regression and realized what they were from Japan, which things are opposite there. So if they had that memory, that might have self-corrected and go, okay, I'm English now. And so it does help to have your memory on these things.
Absolutely.
Well, look, this has been so beautiful. Tell people about the courses and things that they can offer to help further them with your website, and of course we'll have it below. But just so people can know how they can further this with you and your husband.
Yeah, so well, we do a variety of different things. So my flagship course is a light language course, which is available on my website, and this is for anybody who wants to not just activate their light languages, but also learn how to use this modality with intention. There's a lot of practice exercises, so you can actually confidently speak this light language, activate others, heal, and use it for a variety of different reasons. I also have weekly galactic psychic development classes together with my husband Aaron. It's called the Quantum Club. It's a membership, so perhaps this is something of interest. We also run free events very regularly, different classes that are available. So if you go on my website, you'll probably see what is coming up and what you can do. But also don't hesitate to reach out throughout any social media platforms. Perhaps you listen to it and think, yeah, I speak light language, but I'm not so sure. Or maybe this is the first time you'll be able to speak to someone openly about some gift that you've already had for years. So feel free to reach out, because I get a lot of people who reach out to me just because they've had these abilities or they remember these memories, but they just kind of never had anybody to speak to about. So feel free to reach out if that's you.
Well, thank you so much for being of service, because just really offering your heart to others, because there isn't a lot of people that I can think of that you can safely say these things to. And I've had a lot of near-death experiencers on my channel, and so many of them have star memory and they have abilities, but they don't bring it up because it's never in that context when people ask. And it's also very private, but this is private too. And the fact that you're encouraging it with others will help us all, I believe, to ascend where we need to together.
Absolutely, and there's more of us than you realize probably, and it will become normal. It will become normalized. I believe as we ascend, we'll have more access to our memories, our superpowers, and everything else that the wisdom and insights that we've kind of had from our different incarnations. So, yeah, get ready, because it's an exciting ride for us as a humanity.
It is, and you have been amazing. You've been so gracious with your time, with your abilities, and you've been so open with these beautiful gifts that you've have been activated within you, to be able to allow and give people their own permission within themselves. Hey, look at this. There is more here, and to look at this comfortably and with really excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cool thing when you discover that there's more to you than just this incarnation. And also it's a beautiful, beautiful experience when you reunite with your galactic support team. So I encourage you to do so. Actually, I wanted to mention that I'll link up to like a free activation which is actually channeled by my husband and by myself. It's called Galactic Soul Family. So it's for anybody who wants to connect to their star family. It's like it sends that frequency out that I'm ready. Kind of come and help me. And I know that a lot of people listening to it will probably feel like, hey, I want to connect to my memories. So if that's you, and we'll link up to this because I think that's a resource that can help.
Fantastic. So see the link below so you can be star activated with your star family and send out the signal. I'm ready. Come help me. Perfect. Thank you so much. And I haven't met your husband. Thank him too for your time and also what you both are doing. And I just send you much love and light. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.